I said when I explained we kind of like tricked people. I didn't mean to, but it was like we did that, and then that got a bunch of attention, and then I was like, wait a second, people are looking. So if people are looking, maybe I can do stuff that I maybe like making a little bit. Now, granted, in the beginning, I did like making the laser collection. I mean, there's no secret with my online stuff. Like, I think I tend to project this air that I'm kind of sick of doing them, and that I don't really, you know, it's not my favorite project to get involved with. But in the beginning, I still, I was still pretty into that. But yeah, it was kind of how you said. I realized people were paying attention, people were subscribing, and then I was able to post, different stuff. And then some people stuck around. And it's always, there's always a trickle down a little bit where it's like, maybe even trickle down isn't the right way to say it, but there's 220,000 people subscribed, most of which, I'm not exaggerating, the majority of those people are just waiting for another laser thing to come out. But some of them are there because they realize they like the other stuff too. But it's just kind of like, I don't know. You can't. I try not to really pander one side or the other. It's kind of hard though, because I also want to do stuff that I dig doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yes. Animation was kind of the thing for me when I started. I don't honestly. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I was even before I did. No, actually, you know what? I had my home video camera. It was just always, I mean, to go very back to actually like why I ever fucking started was, sorry, I probably can't curse. It's for school, right? Or no, you said it's for YouTube? Ah, then I'll curse. Fuck it. I picked up the camera to start just because I liked movies. I always liked movies. I liked animated movies. I just was into them. It was like a thing where I kind of went through cycles of having favorite movies, and my mom was cool enough that she didn't necessarily, she didn't mind if I watched the same movie every single day, or if I watched a movie every single day, and I think that's like a huge part of it, because it started to define how I was looking at everything else around me, down to, I'm sure a lot of people are like that, people who even make music or write or whatever it is. Yeah, just watching movies every single day, and that started defining how I looked at everything, and being in the car and in car rides and looking outside the window, and then every single time I was in the car, it started to becoming, picturing people running next to the car and like looking up in the air, pretending people were flying and stuff, and like choreographing entire battles and stuff while I was looking out the window. And then it just made sense. That was just always kind of like my thing. I love movies, I love stories, I liked everything about it. And then so it just made sense when I, wanted to start doing them myself. And that was, that when you start, that's kind of how it all is. You're just playing the imitation game. It's like all my first movies were stuff that I was not even necessarily my favorite movies at the time, but stuff that just at that moment was jazzing me up. So like one of the first complete things, I don't even think it was complete, but one of the first things that I started doing with my friends, editing in the camera, like it wasn't even putting it on the computer and editing it. It was just shot by shot. We were, if the camera was on, that meant that's in the movie. You know what I mean? It was never, there was no separate takes or anything. And like the first stuff was like, I remember My Favorite Martian had just come out with Jeff Daniels and Christopher Lloyd. And for some reason, I loved that movie. Like, I loved the trailer. I loved how goofy that movie was. I always liked like Alien and, supernatural, monster-y, weird shit like that. So then one of the first things we did was like, my friend was looking for a place to stay, and we were renting out a room at my house, and then he ends up being a Martian and, gives me superpowers with his Martian powers, and it was just goofy, goofy stuff. And then eventually it's God, man, when I found out that you can edit, like when I found out that you can put stuff on the computer, changed my world. It was my mom told me. My mom was the first one who was like, I have this iMovie thing on my Mac. And I was like, what's that? And she said, you can cut, it's like how people make movies, right? Like they cut stuff that they don't want. And I was like, well, wait, I can get rid of the beginning of the thing where you hear me say action? That's amazing. I didn't know you could do that. So then, yeah, iMovie's great, man. People give it a bad rap, but I yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Because I was doing it, when I started on YouTube, even when we started with, I didn't make the laser collection because I thought it was going to be popular. I thought it was funny. And the whole thing with YouTube, and as I always say this to people, is like when that first came out, again, you probably heard this in that other interview, I was used to having to be voted on in Newgrounds, and then all of a sudden there was this service where you can put stuff up. It's free to put stuff up, and nobody's going to take it down. Then it was just being excited that we could make stuff. It was just, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to make stuff. I'm going to make stuff all the time. I'm going to put stuff out all the time just because it can, you know? So, yeah, I believe so. I believe that's so. And I think that's also a problem when people try and start YouTube channels. There's a lot of, like, going at it backwards, you know what I mean? Like the tail wagging the dog or whatever that saying is. Like, you can't start making stuff because you want the views or because you want the popularity or you want the subscribers. You got to make stuff because you like what you're making, first of all. And yeah, sure, it's fine to have the ambition of, like, yeah, you want people to be watching it and you want an audience. Of course, who doesn't want an audience? That's why, you know, that's what makes this exciting sometimes. But I think you got to, number one, off the bat, just dig what you're making and make good stuff. People notice when good stuff comes out. I know YouTube's incredibly daunting, but people will take notice when you have your heart in something and something's good. I mean, you think about how many times you're sent something that's from a channel that has no subscribers or anything. It was just like this one good video, this one good sketch, whatever the heck it was. Someone saw it, it got sent around, and then it just picked up speed because it was good. It was funny. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's all it takes. That was just it was just a lucky hand because I went to a performing arts school. So I in high school, I entered into this, at 14, all of a sudden I was surrounded by just creative people generally. Like, not necessarily people who wanted to make movies or people who wanted to write or anything, but my friends who I was spending 2.5 hours a day in, like, a drama class with were actors, and they wanted to do stuff, and they liked movies, and they liked, musicals and that kind of stuff. So then I just suddenly had those people. Didn't have to convince anyone, really. It was just like, yeah, of course we all want to do stuff. And that's the thing. I mean, that's when you talk about, do you need to go to film school? Do you need to go to acting school if you want to be an actor or whatever it is? Sometimes and people say this. I'm not like sharing a revelation here. A lot of the times it's just because of who you end up being around. I met the director of photography that I'm probably going to work with for the rest of my life if we both keep wanting to. At like a festival, at a film festival, and then he ended up, that could have been it, we could have never worked together forever, and then he went to NYU, and then, so we, now we've shot 3 or 4 movies together. He shot a bunch of my stuff. We're about to shoot another thing in the beginning of October. So, like, it's yeah, you just gotta kind of, being around people who want to do it helps a lot. And it is hard because, that was always where I had problems, where I was trying to convince the friends who didn't necessarily want to make movies. But you know what, if I give advice for how to do that, you can't treat it like it's a very serious thing. You can't be strict with people like that. You can't say, no, you have to be here and, don't be here if you don't want to be here. Like, you could say that for the people who are creative, because they get it, and it's like, why were you wasting my time? You understand what we're trying to do here. But for people who are just helping out and just being, helping hand, you just got to be like, come and hang out. I'll buy you lunch. Hold this stick with a microphone on it. Like, it's not gonna be hard. Your arms might get tired, but we're gonna, you take a break every so often. And when you say it like that, people tend to respond a little bit better. And when you try not to be like a serious auteur and, I'm shooting a film and, yes, I'm granting you access to help me. People don't really respond to that too well. So if you look at the through line, it's usually, now, excluding the sketches, because they're a different animal entirely. Like, what we think is funny is such a different animal than what we think is good. You know what I mean? So, like, recently we just put out 2 sketches and they're weird. They're just weird, especially the new one. Because we think that's funny. I don't know why. That's how we always, every time, like, when I say we, I mean me and Tim, Tim Kish, when we sit down and we start, because that's me and him are like the bounce back and forth guy. Either it's his idea or it's my idea, and then we just kind of improv through it, and then we'll write stuff down. When we start, we always tend to, near the end of it, for whatever reason, we always think it's funny to make it weird at the end, to just end it on like a, why did it end that way kind of thing. And that's just what we think is funny. But when it comes to even Decked, which is a musical, even though, I haven't done it much, but I want to do scary stuff. I like when things are scary and they kind of get to you and they make you reconsider going to bed with all the lights off. But I haven't done that too much. The through line with all that stuff is like, I just like whatever it's doing with like a real person, like, or not a real person, but you know, it's got to all make sense for the character. And I use this example a lot. Like we have this short that's online right now called Ellie Hart, and it's about these two kids who find a secret magic room with a dream girl inside of it. And so that was the idea, and that was the concept that I thought was neat. And it starts there with this thing, or like with Deck, you know, it's like, you know, someone who loves Christmas and gets punched in the face for singing. And I knew I wanted to make it a musical and whatever, but then you kind of have to like be like, all right, well, what's the point? You know, where does that, how do you make that something that's kind of sweet or something that is funny? Am I making sense? I don't know. I feel like I'm losing my train of thought with what I'm even trying to get at. But yeah, there's definitely, I think I understand my style. I think I understand what I want to do. And I think generally, yeah, it's take these big ideas, these big kind of concepts, or these goofy, silly concepts, and try and pull something kind of wholesome out of them. You know what I mean? Kind of just a rounded, kind of sweet, and can be funny and can be dramatic and whatever it is. Kind of a classic, you know what I mean? I dig that. I think there's enough people right now making movies who are trying to make gritty, real, oh, we got to show what the world really is. And I think that's fine, because I believe in being truthful, and I don't want to be like deceptively twee and tell people the world is beautiful and everything will work out in the end, you know. But I don't know, something, you know, it's like, I love the Avengers. The whole thing of the Avengers, that whole theme of that movie was like, maybe we need a little bit of old-fashioned right now. They say that line like 3 times in the movie, because that was that whole movie. It was like, you know, there's enough dark shit going on right now in movies and real life. Why not have this kind of like hopeful, wait a minute, maybe heroes can save the day, and maybe there is some good stuff in people, you know? No, not how I do it, not how I create videos, because again, like I said, I try not to be, and it's little stuff. It's more like how do you advertise what you're making? Like it's more become a difference in the external stuff of the sketch. But we would have made the same sketch, you know, 2 years ago, not as well. Like the stuff that's changing is our own ability and like our own, how do we shoot stuff, or what have I learned? It's all been like this kind of learning thing. But no, YouTube changing doesn't really mean anything. And again, I don't think it should. Again, beyond how you advertise yourself and how you like use it, maybe, but the stuff you're making should stay the same way, kind of how I said about you can't go view hunting or subscriber hunting. Just make good stuff, man. Make what you're into, you know, and that applies for anything. That applies for, you know, people in Hollywood, that applies to TV, whatever it is. And yeah, there's trends, and yeah, there's stuff that maybe you focus on or exploit, like something that's popular, or a type of movie that's popular, or a type of, I don't know, like element that's popular in movies or something like that, but it's still got to be, you know, your thing. I mean, a lot, but I've just been fortunate where it's like the people who have found my stuff, for the most part, like what I'm doing, and they're there because of me. They're there because of how I'm making the stuff and what kind of stuff I make. But like, if everyone kind of like unanimously hated something that I made, of course it would, like, I'd be like, oh, well, I'm not going to do that again. Like, or like when people don't respond as well to certain things, yeah, it absolutely guides my judgment. But it's where the struggle comes in is, again, how now I've said 2 times you got to stay true to like what you dig and what stuff you want to make. But that also then conflicts with like when people are always asking me for another laser collection, because I know that's what they want, and I know that's what a lot of people want. And there is, you know, there's going to be another one. I've been working on it now on and off for the last few weeks, and it will, you know, it's going to happen. But it's like, it's harder for me to, I guess part of the job, even for people who make TV and for people who do movies and sequels and stuff, you got to like acknowledge what people dig and then figure out a way to make you dig it too. And to not compromise, because you can't just do stuff because people want it or because it's going to make money or it's going to get views or whatever it is. You got to like be like, okay, yeah, I understand that maybe that'll get views or that'll make money, but how do I make sure that I like it? How do I make sure that it's something that I got my heart in? You know what I mean? I think that's a problem. Like it's why I don't understand and why I don't like the excuse. And what the hell do I know? I'm 22. I haven't exactly worked in the real industry yet. But when I see sequels and stuff come out, or when I see stuff that just gets muddy, and why did they do that? Why did they reboot Spider-Man? Oh, first of all, why did they reboot Spider-Man, and then why is it bad? Like, when those are the questions, and people are like, well, because the studio forced them and needed this and needed that element, and it's like, I don't care. If they said we want to do Green Goblin again, or we want to do, it's got to be similar to the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. It's like, fine. I understand that. I understand your concerns. And then there's still definitely a way to make that script good. Like, I think that, what I mean? Maybe it's just me being cocky about my own ability as a writer. But, like, I feel like there's always, and if you can't, that's when you don't do it. That's when you don't do the project. But what do I know? Again, you get offered $3 million to write Spider-Man, you're not going to be like, no, I don't know if I can make this too good. I think I'm not going to do it. Give it to somebody else. I don't like Spider-Man. So I'm very tangential, dude. Again, good luck editing this. Well, success, I mean, what the hell's success? I mean, success relative to what? I mean, I don't know. Because it's always what's the next thing. Right now, I just got signed by a management place, so now the thing that I want and the thing that I'll consider successful is when, like, I sell a script, or when when I'm involved in something bigger, when I'm involved in a movie and stuff. So, like, right now, I'm before we started this call, I'm now outlining another feature. I wrote a feature over the summer, it got attention and stuff, and then now I'm writing this new one per the request of the managers and stuff, because we tried to find an idea that they thought off the bat they could sell. So now that's my thing, and that's what I'll consider when that happens successful. But then if that happens, or when that happens, there'll be a next thing. Then I'll be like, all right, rock and roll, but now I want to make my own feature film. Like, now I want to use whatever money I made to have my name on, as the director and stuff, and I want to be in something now. And it's always going to be like a next step. But I don't know, man. I mean, that's hard. That's a hard, what do you attribute the success to? A lot of it was luck. Again, I know I'm sounding all like I don't know what the word is, like, so, like, spiritually sound about my creativity, like, oh, you have to do what you believe in, and you have to make sure you dig it. But, like, because of that means a lot of what I've done and what people have been attracted to was kind of luck. And yeah, I think that I like my movies, and I think my movies are good, but, like, the fact that the Laser Collection got attention when I didn't care, like, the fact that I made that, because why not? And then that got attention is like, yeah, it was a little bit of luck. Someone found it, and then it just spiraled. And it was based on, like, an internet meme that was already dead when I was 14, so it's a wonder it still survives. Like, I'll take credit for perpetuating that meme. I didn't create it, but, like, the fact that that's still alive and that's still around, absolutely I'll take credit for that. And the fact that they put that, like, in, what was the show? There's a show on Cartoon Network. I think it was the Mad TV show on Cartoon Network, where they do, like, little sketches, and they did, like, some internet something, and in that sketch, one of, like, the cartoon characters goes, like, let's fire our lasers or something, and then, like, has the face and opens it up. And again, I didn't create that face, but it's like, that would be long gone. It's been 8 years since I made Laser. I don't think people would still be using that stupid meme face when it already wasn't funny when I did it. Like I said, all my answers you're gonna start getting a real big sense for how I feel about this stuff, because they're all kind of connected. I think of course it's important to stand out. You want to make sure that you're not doing stuff that's been done before, or if you're doing stuff that's been done before, you're doing it, like, better or in a different way or whatever it is. But I think doing that for the sake of doing that is the same reason why I don't like when people try to be dark and gritty for the sake of being dark and gritty, or when they try and be, I want to really show the world, like, just for the sake of doing that, just to do that because they think that, that's what's good. And it's fine if they believe that's good, because that's a whole different story. If what you believe in as a filmmaker is, I want to show the world, I want to be real, I want to show stuff that makes people uncomfortable, and that's truly what you like, and you're not just doing it because you think other people will like it, then, right on. And it's the same thing, stand out. Are you making weird stuff, or are you making stuff that's, pushing boundaries because you want to be different in, like, a hollow way, or are you trying to be different because you think you are different, or you think you have something different to bring to the table. You know what I mean? It's like anything, man. Do what you love, do what you dig, and see what happens. It's all gradual, man. But I mean, the whole, I definitely, it's a thing that gets me into trouble too. It's the reason why some stuff, it's the same reason stuff gets done, and the reason why stuff doesn't get done. It's because I'm always excited. I'm always pumped up about whatever the next thing. I'm daydreaming constantly about. I love bus rides. You know how I said in the beginning of this, like I used to look out the window and would imagine shit going on. To this day, I was probably started doing that when I was 4 years old, and I'm 22 now, and I still do it every single time I'm in the car. And really, when I'm not driving, I'm not driving and looking out the window. Oh man, what if Spider-Man was swinging on the telephone lines? But just, stay pumped, man. Remember why you're excited. And that's the whole goal. Like, from beginning to end of a project, what keeps me going is definitely getting the daydream down. Like, I go back, and it makes me, from an outside perspective, you might see what I do and almost think it's, like, egotistical. But I watch a lot of my stuff a lot after it's done. I'll go back, or just certain parts, because a huge part of the process for me was that moment. I was so pumped about getting that moment down, and then it's almost surreal when it's like, wow, I lived with that in my head for 3 months. I wanted that thing to be shot, to have that kind of music, to have that kind of feeling with it, and then I can just go back, I can go onto YouTube and click it and watch it, and it's concrete, and it's done. And I love that. I mean, that's a huge part of it for me, is like just being pumped. I get excited about everything. It's not hard to get me excited. You know what I mean? It's another. I love being a fan, so I like giving people a fan thing. That's like my ultimate goal. That's why I like big movies. That's why I like Spider-Man and the Avengers and all that stuff, because I love the idea of having that, like, fan service, making people feel good, making people excited about what you're doing, and just like giving, providing good payoffs. You know what I mean? That's the best. That's exciting. That's always gonna be weird. I mean, that's like I don't even necessarily. I wouldn't even. You can't even put that in just a YouTube category, which is also, it's kind of cool that even, like, that now YouTube is considered in, like, the same light as TV stars and as movie stars and that, for certain people. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, that's just weird. Weird people are weird, It takes a certain kind of person at a certain point in their life. Usually it's younger people who, it's all in good fun for the most part, usually, But yeah, it's just, if you're weird and want to touch people's hair, you're a weird person. Like, no matter what. But you could, I don't know. I think there's a healthy amount of, like, fan obsession, because there's people who absolutely, like, there's certain people who I feel like who are famous. I would love to meet them, and I'd be cool. Like, I wouldn't freak out, and I'd be able to have a conversation with them, because I think that they're cool. I appreciate what they do, and I feel like I'd be able to hold it together. But there's other people where I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'd do. I'd say some stupid shit. If I ever met Michael J. Fox, if I ever was face to face with Marty McFly, who the hell knows what I'd melt or something. I don't know. Something, that transcends physical rules would happen to me. Or I would just say something stupid and get really embarrassed, and my face would get red, and be like, I love your I love how you, the way I act is because of how you act. So, you've gotten the impression. I want to make movies. I want to make big movies. I want to make exciting, cool things that are also, I love the word wholesome. I think it's a good word to use for certain movies. I want to make that kind of stuff. And, like, I don't know, for someone who wants to, if you want to be there, dude, you got to make stuff. I mean, especially now, it's so not an excuse to say that you don't have the right stuff to make things. People have been writing with, berries that are mashed up and like a rock, and people would write that way. Like you're fun. You can write. I guarantee you. You can sing. You can write lyrics. You can play. You can always find somewhere, whether it's at your school, whether it's anywhere. You can find somewhere with a piano. Find somewhere where you can borrow a guitar. Go into a music shop. If you can't afford a guitar, you can't afford whatever the instrument is, go into like somewhere you know around town that has a music shop, walk there, take a bus, whatever the hell it is, go inside and tell them can I just play? I can't afford to, tell them flat out, say I can't afford to buy a guitar, but I would love to play guitar and I would love to try and like mess around and learn. You know what I mean? For the most part, if you get a decent human being in that kind of situation, they're going to say, yeah, go ahead, kid, like, sure, dude, like, because they're all hopefully people who work in those kinds of places or people who understand that. As for like movies and stuff, dude, you can totally shoot stuff with your phone. Like, get a stabilizer for your phone as opposed to spending $700 on a new camera or whatever, however fucking much it costs. Like, I know a 5D at this point is like something near $2,000 or something, right? I don't even know. I have no idea. I don't own a camera, by the way. It's Seth's. Seth owns the camera, and on all the big movies we rent them. You know what I mean? I have no necessarily. I don't have a need on a day-to-day basis to have a camera. You know, I'm not vlogging, but get a stabilizer for your phone that's like $60. It's like a piece of plastic that just lets you hold your phone sideways and shoot. You know, do stuff, man. Do it, because I know that everybody says it. Again, this is not a revelation. But you gotta keep making stuff to get any better at it, and it's fine. I won't even say like everyone says like you gotta fail. Like it's fine to fail. I think that's such a discouraging thing to say, like to someone who's starting to do something or someone who wants to be good at something, to tell them like you gotta fuck up, like you gotta be bad. You're gonna be bad. You're gonna be bad. Don't ever think you're gonna be good. You're gonna be bad first. It's like, how do you know, man? This kid might pick up a camera and blow your friggin' socks off. So. Just do it. Nike. Just do it. That's my advice.